Hey everyone, in this video I will briefly go over Matinee and how to animate in Matinee, but I'm purposely using it or to show you one of the main issues that I first encountered creating my demo, which was when I animate my player or flip him around, the camera wouldn't follow him correctly, follow the player correctly. So to begin, I want to set up my scene here. So the first thing I will do is get my player blueprint in the scene, and I want to get rid of the default player starts here, and I want to make sure that my player or my camera or the game will set him as my main player when I play. So if you select the player, scroll down, and you see auto possess player, just say player 0 for the time being since we only have the one player. And now when I play, I should be in a character. Perfect. Okay. So I'm gonna scoot my little guy here in the back. And now I'm gonna create a Matinee. So I'm gonna go to cinematics, add a Matinee. All right, perfect. Scroll this up here. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to create a group for my little guy here, and then I add so I can tell the engine that I want to animate my character. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my character, and I'm going to right click here. I'm going to say add new empty group, and I'm just going to call it my player. Now what it did automatically says it sees if I have anything selected and it automatically adds it to the group. And to check, you can right click on your group, hit up actors, and right there, my player. If you don't have them in here, all you can do is, or I can just remove group actors. See, he's gone. You can select your actor and right click actors and say add selected actors, and to check again, right here. Perfect. Now I'm going to select my player and right click. I'm going to say add new movement track. Perfect. Now I want to animate this for about 10 seconds. So the limits for the Matinee or where it's going to play is between those two red lines. So I'm going to say, I'm going to just select it. I'm going to scoot back to 10 seconds. Okay, and this is my loop area, so I'm going to also put that back to 10 seconds. So all this will be played. Right here you have it creates the first key for you, or yeah, pretty much the first key. But what I want to do is actually I want to go into detailed movements. So I want to control the X, Y, and Z for the movement and rotation separately. And you can totally do that by right clicking on the movement and say split translation and rotation. So there you go. Now we have the translation X, Y, and Z, rotation X, Y, and Z. So what I want to do is animate my player. So I'm going to do this. Actually, going to make this a little bit smaller. So I want to animate my guy first to go into this direction. Go into this direction, which is the X direction, as we can see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to frame 10, or at the 10-second mark, and I'm going to say in the X, add a keyframe. And you can actually set the time or value if you right click any keyframe. So I'm going to say right click, I'm going to say set value, and it's negative 400. I'm going to make it 400. So right now, if I play back, he's going in the right direction. Perfect. And now I want to make sure he rotates, makes a flip in the Y. So if I'm right here, I want him to flip this way. Perfect. So in the Y, I want to also add a keyframe. And I want to flip complete 360 degrees, so I'm going to right click, set value, hit 360, enter. Now if I play back, there we go. He does the 360. Now I forgot to pull him up a little bit more, so he was above the ground. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually take the ground and just push it a little bit down. All right. So now I can demonstrate to you the problem. So I'm gonna. So if you play, everything is playing fine. The camera seems to be playing fine. But when you actually play and say yes, close matinee. Oops. Now we forgot one more thing. We forgot to make sure that the matinee plays on autoplay. So if you hit your matinee icon right here, when it creates it for you when you create the matinee, you're going to say play rate, play on level load. So I'm going to select that. And I'm going to select looping so you can see it multiple times. And that's it. So hit play. Now, as you can see, the camera is not following my character. So that's an issue. All right, so how do we solve this? We exit. So digging deep, what we can do actually, we can. There's few things that we have to set up. We have to set up the camera. We're gonna say, camera, follow the controller, the control rotation of the player first, but then it's gonna create an additional issue which we're gonna also fix through blueprints. So what we're gonna do here is open my player blueprint, and then I'm gonna create a get player controller. There we go. I'll zoom in. And then from here, I say get control rotation. And from there, I'm going to assign it to. So I got the player controller, and I'm going to say get the control rotation from it, and I'm going to say set relative. Move that out of the way. Rotation. Oh, there we go. Here it is. And it says, do you want to set relative rotation to the first person, which is our first person camera? I'm going to say yes. Now I want to make sure that this runs always during our matinee, so it has to be on every tick. So I'm going to right click here and it says event tick. There we go. Now if I compile this, now let's test it out. So remember, it's getting, I say get the player controller and get the control rotation and apply a set relative, set my camera and set relative rotation to the control rotation of the player. Let's see how that works. And play. Something doesn't seem right. Let's see what it is. Ah, yes. So if we actually have to set off use control. Let me actually make that a little bit bigger. Use pawn control rotation has to be off, so it doesn't use the control our controls that we set up here for the mouse and stuff. It just, so this has to be off, so it can use our little script. So if we actually can, if we test it out, we control that off, compile and play, and there we go. What we want to do is control that through the script. So if you go back to the script, I'm going to actually turn it back on and leave it on as default. Now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and create a, well, actually get my first person camera. Let's say set control or use set use pawn control rotation to off. Or we actually have the first person camera here. Also, we can just select that and delete this one. Okay, compile and play. And there it is. Now we have an additional issue now. And I'll show it to you once it's done. So I'm gonna hit looping off, and I actually want to. So everything seems dandy. Now it stops. Now you notice every time I rotate, there's a slight additional rotation that's happening also to the player. So in my demo, I had a like a pod. So I attached a pod to the player, and every time I turn, when the animation is playing, I would actually notice that small rotation, or actually my player would be moving with the camera just a little bit. And what's causing that is actually in the class oops, is it on? Yes, under the class defaults, and use control rotation yaw is on. I actually have to turn it off when I'm in Matinee. So also we have to do that within the script. So what I'm going to do is also from here, I'm going to say, well, I'm going to just call that and turn it off completely in here. Say set use control in the pawn, use control rotation yaw, and it's going to be off. And that's it. So, save, play. Everything seems to be fine. Okay, now when I rotate, it doesn't actually rotate incorrectly. So let's say I'm in my pod for the demo, and I get out of the pod. As you can see now, the character doesn't go along with my rotation anymore. So now it's completely broken. Now we have to actually reset it to work correctly after my Matinee finishes, for example. And we can do that actually in many different ways, and I'll show you, I think, the easiest way, which is if you open up your blueprint for the level, and I'm going to say event begin play, and since I know the length of my Matinee, which is 10 seconds, I can just create a delay. I can say delay for 10 seconds. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go back and turn these guys off. But first, this little script here is going to be running on every tick, so I actually have to create some sort of switch between them. And how we do that is we actually create something called a branch. So a branch is pretty much saying, if it's true, do this, if it's false, do this, and it's controlled by a Boolean variable. So I'm going to go ahead, I actually created one right here before when I was preparing, so I'm going to, you can just delete it and actually show you how to create it. So under variables, you just add variable. Is going to be automatically as a Boolean, which we need, but you can actually change right here. You can create into bytes, integers, floats, and so on, and you can also change from here. So I'm going to rename it cam modification or mod. Put it here, and I say get, and attach it to this, so we can control it whenever we want. And by default, I want it to be on as true. So it's going to be true, true, true until we actually turn it off and be false. So let's do that in the level blueprint. So I'm going to select my player because it's in the my player blueprint. I'm going to say, or right click and say create reference to my player. Make sure context sensitive is on. If it's off, you won't see it. So make sure context sensitive is on, create reference to player. And I'm going to say cam or set cam mod to off. So in here is going to go off, and when it's off or false, it won't do anything at all. Perfect. So I'm going to say do that. And now I want to go back and change what we did. So we want to change the yaw, and I want to change the first camera use pawn controller. So I have to use or have to call on the first person cam. So first person. Get first person. And the first person I have to call on use pawn control rotation. Say set use pawn control rotation. That's right here under camera settings. And I'm going to say yes. To go here. And then from here I also want to control the under class defaults the use control rotation yaw. So from here, oops, I'm going to say set use controller yaw. I'm going to set it to yes. Put it here. And now I'm going to show you something to organize all these lines that goes through each other. If you anywhere on the line, you can just double click, and you can just do that for organization purposes, of course. There we go. So on event begin place, on the beginning of when the level starts, delay for 10 minutes or 10 seconds, I'm sorry, for the matinee. Then it's going to set cam mod off, which turns off this little script, and then turn back on, the use pawn control rotation and the control rotation yaw for the player and the camera. Okay, so let's see if this works. So compile and play. So here we go. We begin. Ends, and now I have full control of my player, and he rotates correctly with my camera. Well, there we have it. I hope this video you guys find it useful, because it was definitely one of the issues many people were having, and it took me a while to also figure it out. So if you like the video, please subscribe, like, and there's going to be many tutorials coming up. So thank you. Bye.